Hey guys, in this video I'll show you how to make this cool parallax scroll animation in Figma. So let's get started. So in order to create this parallax scroll effect, we'll have to first create the whole page layout. So here you can see I have the whole page layout. So I have a hero section, then we have the spec section, and at last we have a CTA section. First let's create this hero section. For that I'll be taking a MacBook frame. So if you look at the hero section, so it consists of a background image, then we have a title, then some description and a CTA. And also we have top navigation bar. So for that, I'll have to place an image first. So I have the image ready. So I'll also try to create a file and put in all the assets so that you can refer to it and also create along with this video. So I've just placed the image. Now let's type in a title and give it some big text size, and then we will have a, let's just copy paste this text. Yeah, and yeah, I think this is good. Let's just make sure and select both and put them in auto layout by clicking Shift+A. That's the shortcut for auto layout. And now I'll create a button. So for that, let's just say book now. Change the font and let's make semi bold and let's just say 38. And now in order to create the button, hit Shift+A. That will create auto layout and add some stroke, and let's just say with 2 weight and change it. So this looks a pretty big, so I'll just use x is to 2x ratio. So if I have 10, no, let's just say 16, then we'll have 32 width, right? I think that is good. So I'll just copy it and paste it inside this layout. Yeah, and let's increase its size. Let's say 40. Yeah, I think this looks. Yeah, let's decrease the spacing a bit. Yeah, I think this is good. So let's place them in an auto layout and increase the spacing in between them. Let's just say 40. So now we have this hero section almost ready. We'll create a top navigation bar. For that I'll create one more frame with from edge to edge, and let's just say with height of 80 pixels. I'll add a fill with black color and reduce its opacity to 10%. And also add some background blur effect to give it a modern look. So as you can see, like most top nav bars on a website consists of a logo, and then we have pages that the user can navigate to. So we'll just add a logo. I have the logo ready with me. Just add it here. What I'll do is I'll add 200 pixels of margin on both left and right of the page. I'll add a layout grid with columns. Let's just say 3 columns and margins of 200 pixels. Yeah, and now I'll make sure it's aligned. And next, now we'll have to create the page titles. So let's go ahead and create them. So this is the overview page. and now hit Shift plus A to put that in an auto layout. Let's just say top and bottom padding of 10 pixels and 4 pixels of left and right padding. I'll just duplicate it and make sure there's some space in between both the pages and rename them reviews. I'll put them both in a auto layout, hit Shift plus A, and I'll just change the spacing to 24 pixels. Now I'll duplicate it so we have 6 pages. I rename all the page titles. So I'll have to indicate what page the user is in. So this is the overview page. I'll just add an underline. So I'll add stroke to the layout and just say with stroke weight of 3 pixels. And I want to change the color to white. And now I'll change the stroke to be only on the bottom. That would create an indicator for this page. So this top navbar should always be sticky to the top. So let's go to prototype mode and change the position to fixed. So it should always be in the same position at the top. If you look at the animation, so the first animation as we scroll, there is a text that comes in. So in order to do that, we'll have to create a shape mask using the text. So let's create that. What I'll do is I'll group both the background image and the title into one group. Hit Command G for grouping them. Now I'll create one more text field saying Safari and change its color. Doesn't matter which color. Now hit K, and basically if you hit K you can scale any text or any element proportionally. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to make sure like the text is big enough so that the whole image fits here. So I'll just zoom it out and scale the text. So now you can see A covers the whole group. So in order to create the mask group, get the text below the group, then select both group and the text field, and here if you click on this, use as mask, then the mask is created. Okay, so what I'll do is now I'll hold command and increase the height of the frame so that we'll create the next sections. I'll just change the color of the fill to maybe a darker gray shade. So the next section, we have a title, then subtext, then we have a bento grid explaining specs about the car. So let's create that section. So now this group is so big, so it covers the entire screen. So what you have to do is select the mask group and lock it so that accidentally you do not get into that mask group. We'll unlock it later. So now take the text and now oh no, it's too big. Change size. Yeah, I think this is good. The new Safari. Yes, 40. Let's make sure it's centered. Yeah, then we have some description text. I'll just copy paste it from here. And center aligned. Yeah, I think we're good. I'm not grouping anything because it'll be easier for us to animate them from frame to frame if we do not group it. So never group them, just leave them as it is. Next, we have the bento grid with all different specs for the car. So let's create that. and add a fill. Let's make sure it's centered. So each frame in this bento grid basically has an image, some title, and some description text. So let's add an image. Have this, copy and paste it here. Now just copy paste it from here. Create the rest of the frames in the bento grid. We have a CTA section. It says make sure it's centered. Yeah, and I'll just reuse the same book now. Yeah, I think we're almost there. So we created a layout. So next step is basically to animate the parallax effect. Let's do that. So what I'll do is I'll hold command and reduce the height, and now I'll duplicate this. If you look at the animation, so the first thing is that the text in the mask group comes in, and then the Safari title comes in, then we have the next section title and the description. So the first frame is basically to animate this effect. So let's do that. I previously mentioned, right, to log the mask group, so now we have to unlock it in order to interact with that. So in this as well, I'll unlock it. Now in this frame, go to the mask, which is text, and hit K, and now scale it down. If you look at it, like extend the image is causing some kind of noise, so select the image and move it down a bit. So in the background there's this sky, and also I'll select title frame and move it down. So now we have this clean looking font. So the first frame is done. Now the next frame is the text zooms in, then we have the next section's title and the description. So now let's animate that frame. So in order to do that, let's duplicate this. So what I'll do is hold command and increase height of the second frame, and now I'll select all the frames and move it up a little bit and reduce their opacity. Okay, what I'll do is I'll create some guidelines so that I do not accidentally resize the frame to a different height. So now select this third frame, increase the height of it, and I'll select the text and all the frames same way and move everything up, and except the title and the description, I'll select the rest of the frames and text and reduce its opacity. So yeah, so let's look at the animation one more time. So title comes, then the description comes after like a few milliseconds. So let's create that kind of animation. In order to do that, I'll select the title and the description. I'll just increase the opacity so you can see what I'm exactly doing. So I'll select the description, I'll move it a bit down and reduce its opacity, and the title. So the title comes first, then the description comes. So we have it until here. Let's connect the prototype and see how it looks until now. So what I'll do is I'll use keys instead of scrolling because it's easier to navigate it. You can use your keyboard up and down to scroll through the page. Connect the next one, keypad and down arrow. So I'm using smart animate with slow ease in so that there's some subtle animation with like a bouncy nature. The same way, connect frame 3 to frame 2 and keypad. You have to use the up arrow, and then the same way connect second to first with keypad and up arrow. So the mask frame has to move up, and then we have this title and description. So if you notice one more thing, so the reference that we are seeing, so it kind of happens automatically. So we need not press a key. So the title kind of zooms in and then the next title and description comes. So let's change that as well. So go to prototype mode and I'll connect the frame 2 to frame 3. Let's say change the trigger to after delay and 600 same. And I'll connect the third frame not to second but to first, because if we connect third to second frame it kind of gets into a infinite loop. And keypad and up arrow. Okay, hit play and see how it goes. So if I hit the down arrow, kind of zooms in, and then yeah, that's the animation we want. So if I hit the up arrow, it goes to the first hero section. So after the first animation, first frame in the bento grid shows up. So let's create that now. In order to do that, select the third frame and duplicate it. In that frame, select all the frames except these three and move everything up. Yeah, and select the first frame and increase its opacity. Now let's connect frame 3 to frame 4 and let's say key and down arrow. Now let's select third frame, hit play and see if we have that animation. So scroll down, there's something missing. Yeah, so if you look in the reference, so the title, the Safari title moves up, so I forgot that, so let's create it. So select all the frames actually and move everything up and select this frame and get it out of view. So let's see if that worked. So one goes up, and if I go, yeah, this is good. So the next frame is the whole title moves up, and then we have this second and third frames in the bento grid showing up. So let's create that. So duplicate the fourth frame, and we have this too, the second and third. Just increase its opacity. Now select all the frames and move them up. If I go to the reference frame, so if you see, if you look closely, the second frame here comes a bit earlier than the third frame. In order to do that, what you'll have to do is, in the previous frame, increase the opacity of this too, and now select the second frame and move it down, and select the third frame and move it further down. Okay, and now there is its opacity. So if now I connect the fourth frame to the fifth frame and keypad down arrow, and don't forget to change this or else it will go to the first frame. So Now I'll select this and hit play. Let's see how it animates. Now if I hit the down arrow, see, right? So that is the same effect as here. Yeah, next frame, the last two frames in the bento grid shows up in the same way. Use the same logic, select all the frames and move everything up and select last two frames and increase their opacity. Yeah, and in the previous frame, increase the height of this and select both the frames, increase their opacity and move the first frame down and second frame further down, and don't forget to decrease their opacity to 0. Yeah, and now I'll connect the fifth frame to sixth and keep add down arrow, and this I'll change it to fifth frame. So if I go to the demo, if I hit down, yeah, that's it. And if you go to the reference one, so last is basically the title and the CTA shows up. So let's create that. Now duplicate the sixth frame and select all the frames and move everything up. And now select both the title and CTA and increase their opacity. Okay. So make some different animation here. What I'll do is let's increase their opacity and I'll select the all new Safari and move it to the left, and book now I'll move it to the right. So if I go to the next frame, so the new Safari comes from the left and it comes from the right and they meet at the center. So it'll be a cool animation. Now decrease the opacity and reduce the height of the frame. And now let's connect sixth frame to the seventh one, and down arrow and seventh to sixth. Okay, now let's see how that animates. And it's different from what I shown, but for the sake of this video. So now if I hit the down arrow, you see that animation. So that is how you animate the parallax scroll effect. You can use the same logic and animate the parallax effect however you want to. I hope you enjoyed this video and were able to follow along. I'll be creating a file containing all the assets used in this tutorial, and I'll include a link in the description so you can use it to follow along and create your own animation. If you'd like to see more such videos, please consider subscribing. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.